It's Friday and the weekend is here. So let's enjoy what's to come. Movie worth fixing. Super Mario Bros. Wrestling Report, TNA results, Smackdown preview, predictions for Saturday night main event and AEW Double or Nothing predictions. Editorial news. Dumb ass of the day. Disney now to the show. 5 4 3 2 1.
It's Friday and we often look at movies that could be fixed. 1993 Super Mario Bros. With the success of the animated movies, many question why did the original live action failed so miserably.
Where are we? I got a feeling we're not in Brooklyn no more.
They're brothers. They're plumbers.
Oh no! Mario! Luigi!
They're on the trail of a kidnapped princess and a mystical meteorite.
It's incredible!
That gives anyone who possesses it the power to rule the universe.
Get me the rock! Come and get it, lizard breath!
Now, they must rescue the princess.
Alien species escaping.
And make it safely back.
Later, alligator.
To our world.
Are you alright?
Before time runs out.
Shoot him! Get him! Yes!
Super Mario Brothers. This ain't no game.
How to fix Super Mario Bros. 1. Scrap the dystopian, the evolution, plot. Instead of making Cooper a devolutionized humanoid dinosaur, make Dino Hutton the Dark Lands, a chaotic, alternate dimension prehistoric kingdom. The Goombas shouldn't be tiny-headed men in suits, make them Cooper's imposing, hulking lizard grunts. It was confusing and took too much valuable storytelling. 2. Introduce the Mushroom Kingdom. Replace the grime-covered, third world, of Dino Hutton with the colorful, vibrant Mushroom Kingdom from the games. Give Mario and Luigi a reason to go there, like the missing princess, or Daisy, being taken to fuel a mechanical threat, rather than being dragged into fossil politics. It would be a familiar sight and make the movie more whimsical. 3. Give them their signature abilities. The 1993 film largely featured the brothers running around with guns. A faithful fix means actually utilizing their platforming abilities. Add scenes where they use jumping as a strategic traversal tool and introduce traditional power-ups like fire flowers and mushrooms to turn the tide in the third act. The video game was completely neglected where it was by name only. 4. Lean into the brotherly dynamic. Instead of awkward romantic subplots, make the emotional core of the film entirely about the brotherly bond. Have Luigi act as the damsel in distress, forcing Mario to overcome his fears and step up as the heroic plumber from Brooklyn. One of the biggest problems is the casting of John Leguizamo as Luigi. Zero chemistry, and instead of comedy, it plays off as annoying. 5. Revamp the score. Replace the dated 90s alternative rock soundtrack with high-energy, orchestral remixes of Koji Kondo's iconic video game tracks. 6. Brighten the sets. Video games are associated with bright and vivid colors. This movie was bland and just ugly. Again, the animated movies indicate audiences love the video game movie where both movies made well above $300 million each. Would these changes help? It couldn't hurt. So next is the wrestling report. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Wrestling Report, TNA results. Show starts with the system gloating. Faber Eichner takes out the system. 1. Indy Hartwell defeated Alina Black by DQ. Ariana Grace attacks Indy, which lead to the disqualification. 2. Matt Hardy defeated Vincent. Despite interference from Dutch and Vincent trying to use a boot as a weapon, the lights went out, allowing Willow to appear and take Vincent down, paving the way for Hardy's twist of fate. 3. TNA International Championship. Mustafa Ali defeated Chaz, Starboy, Hall by countering a handspring into a roll-up. Short but entertaining match. 4. Shaw Brookside defeated Jada Stone in a quick match that focused on leg targeting and a finishing lifting DDT. 5. TNA World Championship. Mike Santana defeated Steve Macklin after 17 minutes of highly physical back-and-forth action. Smackdown Preview. May 22, 2026. Jade Cargill addresses her actions. Tiffany Stratton looks for a contender. Blake Monroe makes her debut. Gunther responds to Cody Rhodes. Talatonga vs Shinsuke Nakamura. Now to the wrestling news. With all the events, it's not really news but predictions, matches of the week, wrestler of the week and indie star of the week. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Predictions for Saturday night main event. 1. Penta vs. Ethan Page singles match for the WWE Intercontinental Championship. Ethan Page main roster debut has been exciting and he could easily elevate the championship. Winner. And new Intercontinental Champion Ethan Page. 2. The Vision Logan Paul and Austin Theory vs. The Street Profits Angelo Dawkins and Montez Ford tag team match for the World Tag Team Championship. Street Profits back on TV helps the tag team division. WWE has hurt the division so this could be an easy fix. Another factor that can play a role, will WWE make Montez Ford a singles star? So it could lead to a breakup and actually destroy another tag team. Seth could play a factor, so this could go two ways. 1. Seth helps Street Profits and we get new champs and a new unit faction. 2. Seth hurts the Profits where it leads to the breakup. So, let's play it safe and prediction, and new tag champions Street Profits. 3. Rhea Ripley, Charlotte Flair, and Alexa Bliss vs. Jade Cargill, Myken, and B-Fab 6-woman tag team match. This is the most interesting storyline. Jade Cargill has been the focal point in so many teases. Jade Cargill vs Rhea Ripley to go after her gold. Jade Cargill vs Charlotte Flair where it has been teased from day one. Then there is the Charlexa not trusting Rhea. Prediction. Jade Cargill and the baddies get past due to the superpowers egos interfere in the process. 4. Becky Lynch vs. Sol Ruca singles match, may hold future Women's Intercontinental Championship. Sol Ruca has an aura and potential that screams superstar. Her first Saturday night main event was the measuring stick and this will be another highlight reel. Prediction. Sol Ruca wins, leads to Women's IC title match at Clash in Italy. 5. Paige and Brie Bella vs. The Irresistible Forces Lash Legend and Nia Jax tag team match for the WWE Women's Tag Team Championship. The Paige experiment has been a major fail. The fan support is high but more based on nostalgia than ability. This would be a perfect time to break up Paige and Brie, where take them off TV and not in the ring. Prediction. And new WWE Women's Tag Champions Irresistible Forces. Now to AEW Double or Nothing predictions. Double or Nothing predictions. 1. Kazuka Okada vs Konosuke Takeshita singles match for the AEW International Championship. The build-up has been a slow burn. Prediction. And new AEW International Champion Konosuke Takeshita. 2. FTR Dax Harwood and Cash Wheeler with Stokely vs Cage and Cope, Adam Copeland and Christian Cage, tag team, I Quit, match for the AEW World Tag Team Championship. If Cage and Cope lose, they must retire as a tag team. This is interesting at so many levels. Simple have Cage and Cope retire as a tag team and they have a singles run. I don't think that's going to be the route. Prediction. And new AEW Tag Team Champion Cage and Cope. 3. Jericho, the Hurt Syndicate Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin, and the Elite Kenny Omega, Jungle, Jack Perry, Matt Jackson, and Nick Jackson vs the Demand Ricochet, Bishop Khan, and Toa Leona, the Don Callis family Mark Davis and Andrade El Idolo, and the Dogs Clark Connors and David Finlay Stadium Stampede match. Jericho catching pins and losses since returning is baffling. This should be fun and Team Jericho needs to win this or his return will be an epic fail. Prediction. Team Jericho. 4. Thekla vs Hikaru Shida vs. Jamie Hayter vs. Chris Statlander 4-way match for the AEW Women's World Championship. The story of Shida and Statlander has been interesting but is there a reason for turning either one of these? Prediction. And still champion Thekla. 5. Samoa Joe vs Will Ospreay Men's Owen Hart Cup quarterfinal. Advance Will Ospreay. 6. Bandito vs Swerve Strickland Men's Owen Hart Cup quarterfinal. Advance Swerve Strickland. 7. Claudio vs Brody King Men's Owen Hart Cup quarterfinals. Advance Brody. 8. Jack Perry vs Mark Davis Men's Owen Hart Cup quarterfinals. Advance Jack Perry. Owen Hart Finals. Will Ospreay vs Swerve Strickland. Winner. Will Ospreay. 9. Athena vs Mina Shirakawa Women's Owen Hart Cup Quarterfinal. Advance. Athena. 10. Persephone vs Hazuki Owen Hart Cup Quarter. Advance. Persephone. 11. Wild Card vs Alex Windsor Owen Hart Quarterfinals. Depends who the wild card is, if it is Mercedes Moan. Advance. Mercedes Moan. 12. Sky Blue vs Sari Owen Hart Quarterfinals. Advance. Sari. Finals Mercedes Moan vs Athena. Winner. Mercedes Moan. 13. Jon Moxley vs Kyle O'Reilly Singles Match for the AEW Continental Championship. This match will have no time limit. Will Jon get over the hump and finally beat Kyle O'Reilly? Prediction. And still Continental Champion Jon Moxley. 14. Darby Allin vs MJF title vs. Hair match for the AEW World Championship. Darby's run has been magnificent and the very possibility of having so many matches was to give his run value. Prediction. And new World Champion MJF. Now to the Match of the Week, Wrestler of the Week and Indie Star. Match of the Week, AEW Continental Championship. Jon Moxley vs Kyle O'Reilly. The time limit draw was a perfect end where both stars highlighted their expertise. Wrestler of the Week, TNA Champion Mike Santana. A very solid match and again highlight how he's a great leader for TNA. Indie Star of the Week, Camaro Jackson, a veteran of the indie scene and a very good wrestler to boot. Now to the news editorial. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Today's editorial is something plaguing the world and is becoming a bigger problem. Why has journalism turned bias and is working as a tool for liberalism? 1. Demographics and career psychology. Journalists, particularly at national and prestige outlets, identify as politically liberal at significantly higher rates than the general public. Research suggests that individuals who pursue journalism, a career valuing verbal creativity and openness to new ideas, natively score higher on traits that correlate with political liberalism. The percentage of journalists identifying as conservative has steadily declined, falling to roughly 3% to 7% in major media markets. Regardless of demographic, journalism should be unbiased. You are not creating news but reporting it. This is a problem because the person's idea is fogging their ideas. Unfortunately, journalism isn't the only career that have been plagued. 2. The shift from objectivity to advocacy. Historically, mainstream journalism operated under a view from nowhere, striving for strict nonpartisanship. Over the last decade, journalists and educators embraced the idea that objective reporting on certain issues, e.g., social justice, democracy, climate, can legitimize harm. This has led many newsrooms to shift from simply stating facts to framing narratives explicitly around equity, systemic issues, and progressive viewpoints. Notice the last phrase, instead of stating facts but frame it. This is very problematic, especially if higher percentages have turned to journalism. Individuals watching news are being influenced, not informed. 3. Economic pressures and audience capture. As the internet fractured the media landscape and destroyed traditional revenue streams, news outlets increasingly relied on digital subscriptions rather than mass advertising. This created a direct business incentive to cater to the ideological preferences of highly engaged readers, who, in major urban and coastal media hubs, are overwhelmingly liberal. So instead of reporting reality, they are getting incentives to report what they want. Influence can be a very slippery slope. Now the news isn't news but a narrative with financial support. This isn't something that has just happened. The rise of Nazism and communism have their origins from liberal journalists where they served as useful idiots. 4. Educational backgrounds and institutions. The pathway to national journalism now runs heavily through elite colleges and universities, where progressive and performative activism is common. Many young journalists enter newsrooms already holding social justice-oriented worldviews, which has increasingly influenced what topics editors deem newsworthy and how they are reported. The system is broken. Education has become a tool where it too has its origins for the useful idiots. Do you think this is something natural? It is not. This is a cancer that has slowly spread. Saul Alinsky, Rules for Radicals has been the playbook for journalism. Rule number 3. Whenever possible, go outside the experience of the enemy to create and cause chaos and confusion. Rule number 7. Create fear where individuals naturally want to suppress the fear. Journalists have embraced these concepts and it has created the biggest problem in the world today. The removal of unbiased news has created a form of radicalism that influences the future of ideas and thought process. So, instead having journalists being figures of truth, we have agents of chaos who are creating the very chaos. This cancer is the most malignant and is destroying the very fiber of casual living. When people assume the reports are news but reality a tool of propaganda, we are all doomed. The worst part is the bullet points all mirror each other. This is dangerous. The masses are being poisoned and now they are thinking bias is truth. One of the reasons communism is becoming more popular because they have more agents. Useful idiots, where education and journalism are molding what people think, and if you are not alarmed, then you have already drunk too much Kool-Aid and are already too far gone. Now to the dumbass of the day. Disney. Dumbass of the day. Disney ruining their name and franchises. Critics and fans often argue that Disney's massive franchises, such as Star Wars and Marvel, have declined due to oversaturation, rushed storytelling, and an over-reliance on nostalgia. The studio's push to feed streaming platforms and prioritize safe, formulaic releases has frequently diluted the unique magic that originally made these properties successful. The perception that Disney is ruining its franchises stems from several key factors. Content oversaturation. In the rush to churn out exclusive content for Disney Plus and theaters, studios have increased output drastically. This quantity over quality approach spreads creative teams too thin, leading to rushed scripts and disjointed story arcs. Too many shows, too many movies, too much of too much. Disney is only looking at cash and they truly are putting out too much stuff and it has lost its uniqueness. Over-reliance on nostalgia and remakes. Rather than building compelling new stories, Disney often relies on live-action remakes, endless sequels, and bringing back legacy characters. This can sometimes feel like a cash grab that damages the legacy of the original works. The concept of cash grab is blinding the actual purpose of entertaining. Nostalgia is great but to bank on it could cause problems. The whole live-act remakes, the fact they were not better than the original, question why they were done. Then wanting nostalgia but changing the tone and harboring on wokeness. Then when audiences are made, the studio blames everyone except for themselves. Snow White is the greatest example of using nostalgia and doing everything the wrong way. Mismanagement of legacy characters. Beloved heroes in franchises like Star Wars have occasionally been portrayed in ways that alienate longtime fans, often sidelining or altering their established traits in favor of passing the torch to new characters. Legacy often means rare and special tone. Disney has no restraint. They see only dollar signs. The Mandalorian and Grogu are prime examples of milking nostalgia without embracing and clarifying. Solo is another movie that set out to be exposition but ended up as a major problem. Safe, formulaic plotlines. To appeal to the broadest possible global audience, some properties have lost their edge and complexity. The drive for mass marketability and merchandise sales can soften the foundational conflicts, such as making villains too relatable, which strips the story of its dramatic stakes. Safe but woke. The fact they don't understand their target audiences is one of the biggest and most frustrating concepts. And when it fails, they go to the formula. Bad movie, blame A audience. B. Toxic masculinity. C. Political spectrum. No accountability and just mindless shifting of blame. Hopefully Disney can change their perspective and make movies that entertain, not rant and create uncomfortable situations. Please like, subscribe and follow the channel. Check out our Facebook pages. Every Ring That's Everything Wrestling, for the most up-to-date information. What the heck are we watching? The latest on the most recent movie releases.